All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our LIU LearnOn webinar series. Today, we're going to talk about PDFs, how to create them, how to work with them, how to work with some files. For your screen sharing piece, I'm going to drop um, the presentation, the slide deck into the chat again. So you can see there. So you can see my screen is being shared a little bit differently today because I'm going to be jumping around from a couple of different applications. I want to just make sure that you have a chance to be able to see everything. So if you're having problems seeing this as a small group in here, you can message me and let me know that through the chat, and I'll change my screen share. So I'm Ben Smith. This is my contact information. It'll be on the second slide there. You can see the list of all the folks that are contributing to our LearnOn team as we go. We want to make sure we give everybody credit for this cross-collaborative effort. Now, in this particular case, we're going to talk about PDFs. And so just in case you're not aware, right, PDF stands for Portable Document Format. That's what the letters stand for. It was invented by Adobe. So a lot of times people call Adobe PDF. And they're documents that can contain all kinds of things, links and buttons. You can see some audio, video, all those types of things, but they're going to be easily viewable on modern browsers, modern devices. So the idea is that those of you that are old enough like me, you can remember like you'd send a document and you get it and you couldn't open it up. Like you'd send me a Word document, either I couldn't open it, or if I did, all the formatting was off. And PDFs came about to really change that. It was a format that allowed you to set the way something would look, send it over, and then that person would see exactly the way that you wanted it to be seen. Now, the problem with that is that those documents aren't typically editable. And so that's one of the things that we're going to work on here today, because our outcome is that you're going to know how to create PDFs, create fillable PDFs, and also markup PDFs. So that's the topic. Those are the things we want to do. If you have questions, you can of course use the Q&A pod, but you can also use the chat here. I have enabled the chat for everybody to be able to chat with us. So, all right. So let's talk first about how to create a PDF. And for some of you probably know this, but you might not necessarily. And so I just want to make sure that if you have a document in any program on your computer, you can create a PDF by printing it to PDF. Now, on a Mac, the window that you see over here is the window that that shows what a print screen looks like. And down in this lower left corner here, if the little toolbar will go away, you'll see it says PDF. And so if you click on that, you can save as a PDF. So rather than actually printing it out, you can save it as a PDF. Now, that's available on built into Macs. PCs are starting to do that as well. And you can also print a PDF as like installing another printer. I also put on here a little link. If I go back a second, sorry. If I go back, I put on a little link that's called Print to PDF, and it takes you out to actually the Adobe site. So you can trust that this is a site that you can use because Adobe, although they're a company and they are trying to sell you software, they also do have some free things. And so right here, you can see it says quickly convert Microsoft Word to PDF online, and you can, where it says try it now. Again, this might be more than you actually need, but you can just drag and drop a Word document on here and it'll convert it to PDF. And you can actually see, you can do it with Excel and PowerPoints and JPEGs, and you can actually compress them. All of that can be done here for free. So that's one way to create a PDF. And you might ask, like, okay, so why do I even care about a PDF? And the reason that you might care is that the documents you're giving students, so I'm going to approach this from a teacher-student point of view. The documents I'm going to give a student, I want to make sure that what the student sees is exactly what I want them to see. I don't want to have to worry about whether they're on a Chromebook or a Mac or a PC or a Linux device, or they're watching it on their phone, or they're watching it on an iPad or some other tablet. I want them to be able to take all of that information and see it exactly the way I want. That's why I would want to use a PDF. Now, the other thing that you can do is that you can create PDFs right out of Google Docs. So I'm gonna move over to my Drive for a moment, and the window that you see there, the presentation, is really a placeholder. So I created a Google Doc here, and in the Google Doc, and that's what's linked in there. It's actually directions on how to do what I'm going to do. So it sort of serves a dual purpose. So if I've typed up a document and I have images and pictures and things like that, and I took this directly from a web page and I just paste it into my Google Doc, what I can do is I can go up here, File, Download, and PDF. And so when I do this, it's going to download this document as a PDF for me. So if I click download here, it'll take just a moment, and then you can see that that's been created right here. And so I'm going to open that document right now. So I'm going to go to Show in Finder. So I click the little arrow, and you can do this on a Mac or a PC when you're in Chrome. When I go to that, you can see lots of my other files here, but here I have that document. I'm just going to double click to open it. So there it is. And it opened, in this case, it opened in preview. So you can see that I have this in preview. That's my Adobe PDF reader on my computer. If you're on a PC, it's going to open up in again, a standard program that allows you, it might be Adobe PDF, because they do have that. And so here's my document. And what it looks like when I put it here sort of side by side, I took the time, let's say, to put in these arrows and pictures and links and all that, and those things are all available on this PDF. You'll notice if I highlight over here, I get the little finger so that I can click that and I can go to that link of what that is. So that's another way to create the PDF for you. And so as I think about the work that I'm doing, anything that I create in Drive, or in Google Docs, I can download as a PDF, and that'll be available in slides. It'll be available in sheets. It'll be available in the image tools. So like anything from Google, you can always go to File and Download, and you'll be able to download that information. So that's how you create PDFs. And forgive me if you're like, okay, this is a little basic, because we're gonna now jump into the next phase. But I wanted to make sure that you know how to create those PDFs. And so if I'm thinking about how I work with students, what I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna use either Word or a Google Doc, and I'm gonna make things look exactly the way I want. And then I'm going to have them create a PDF. And the reason why I want them to do that is so, again, it has like all the images and things set up that way. All right, so now, what happens if you as a teacher get a PDF and you want to edit it? So one of the things that can happen is if I upload PDFs into my Drive, I can actually create a way to edit them. So let me jump over to my Drive folder again. And you'll see in this particular folder, I took that Google Doc to PDF that you saw, and here it is. And I'm gonna open that document, and you'll notice that when I open it, it doesn't open like a Word document. You see this shaded space around here, and it doesn't have all the other buttons. Now I could print it if I want, and I could download it if I want, and I could go over more actions and share and do those things. But if I am just on this document, I'm like, okay, well, this is a PDF, and I want to edit it. You can always go up here to Open With. And you may not have noticed that, but that Open With allows you to open it. And my choice for me is to typically do this in Google Docs. So if I open it in Google Docs, what it's going to do is it's going to now convert that PDF over to a Google Doc, which I can then edit. Now, what you'll see is, and I wanted to show you this, is notice the images disappeared. So So when I go back over here, like these images, so what it's doing is it's converting all the text. So if you have a PDF that you have a lot of text you want to pull over, then that's a great way to get that text over into a place where I can copy, paste, I can manipulate the text however I might want. Now, if I wanted to say, well, I really want this image, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot. And so on a Mac, I'm going to use Command-Shift-4. So you can't see me doing that on my keyboard here, but that's what I just did. And you'll notice that my cursor turned into this crosshairs. Now I'm going to hold the Control button down. I'm going to highlight and copy. Now you'll hear a little camera sound if I have my speakers on. And then I would go over here and try to paste that in. So I'm going to Command V and paste it in, and now I have the image back in. So this is a way that I could almost sort of quickly go through and convert a PDF over, especially if I wanted to edit it. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, why would I want to edit a PDF? Well, there are a number of sites. So when we talked about and did science content, Explore Learning, for example, will give you files in a Word format so you can edit them. Well, other sites sometimes only give you the PDF. Right? So they give you a PDF and I'm like, well, I want to change some of that. This is a process that you can go through and edit your PDF. So when I go back here and I take a look at how to edit my PDF, that's the way I'm going to do it. And again, you want to look for the open with. Okay, so that's how we can do that. Now, I want to jump into another piece here, and I want to talk a little bit about how to create a fillable PDF, a fillable PDF. And so in this case, I'm going to start with Word. And I've created a Word document here that you can see. I'm going to pull it into the middle. And let's suppose I want to create some fill in the blanks or some other things, and I want students to be able to fill this in. Well, the first thing that you have to do is something that's actually a little bit hidden. So for Word, whether you're on a Mac or a PC, if I'm in Word, I've got to go up to Word and Preferences. And you can see that if you're following along on this slide deck. I'm going to go to Word and Preferences, and then I'm going to choose Ribbon and Toolbar. And you can see that right here. And again, when I go back to the slide deck, I'll show you the steps one more time. I click on that, and now this allows you to actually customize what's on your toolbars. And you may or may not have looked at this, like there are lots of things that you can turn on or turn off, but what you want to look for is this one down here at the bottom that says Developer, and you'll notice it's the only one unchecked. Not quite sure why they just leave that one unchecked, but I'm going to check it. And when I check it, what you're going to see is up here where it says Home, Insert, Draw, you're going to see a new toolbar that's going to call, our ribbon is going to be called Developer. So all the ones that are on here will stay there. And now I'm going to close this out, and there it is. It just showed up. And now I'm going to click on that particular toolbar, and now I get this ribbon. And what it gives me are the tools I need to fill out a form. So where I say like fill in the blank, if I wanted to actually put a blank, I could just add a text box there. And so when the students get this at the end of this, they're going to get that and they're going to have to type in the word there. And maybe I might say, well, list your steps. So I want to have another text box there and another text box here. And you can see like where I put in like dashes, you're just going to delete out that text and you're going to put in the text box anywhere you want students to do that. Now, if you want them to do a checkbox, you can just click the checkbox, and then I'm going to put a little space there as well. And you might be wondering, okay, well, how do I make like differences here? Like if I highlight that, you'll see that the options right here open up. So if I click off of that, notice it's grayed out, but then if I click on it, I can go up to options. And so what are my options? Well, by default, I could have it checked, or I could size it however I want, or I can name it if I needed to do something. So there's some advanced features there, but I'm just going to leave those as is. I'll also, let's suppose I want to do like a drop down, like I wanted students to do a drop down. Well, the drop down is this combo box. So I'm going to click on combo box. Okay, it gave me a field, but again, I'm going to have to go up under options. And so here I might say, make a selection. You'll notice it put into the drop-down list, and then I'll say, choose me. That'll be one of my choices. And okay, so I've added those on, and now I'm going to hit OK. What you'll see is now it came up with a make a selection. Now, all the things that I'm doing here have created the form, but before I can do anything else so that the students can interact with it, because notice I can highlight, I can delete a word, I can put the word back. If I hit protect form, now if I hit protect form, what you'll notice is it sort of locked things in. And now I can't highlight. And so you'll just have to trust me as I click and nothing happens. I can click around the document, but I can't do anything. But I can fill in the word there. And so I'll put in blank there. Step 1, I can actually tab and hit step 2, tab to the next field, tab to the checkbox. I can click on the checkbox and exit it, and I can choose these things. So now if I save this file, and send it to students, students won't be able to edit all of these things. All they'll be able to do is fill in the answers for me. And so for me, that makes it much easier for students to interact with this Word document. Now, if I uncheck protect form, now I can go through and edit it. So if I'm thinking about how I'm going to use this with students, and this is probably part of the reason why developer is hidden, I'm going to hit protect form, I'm going to save it, and I'm going to send it on to students. Unless the students know to go in to the preferences, go to the developer tab, and unprotect the form, they won't be able to edit any of these pieces. So having said that, I'm going to go back to my slide deck here a moment, and I just want to remind you, go from preferences to ribbon and toolbar and check on the developer button. And then the developer button will appear for you, and you'll have these choices. So you'll have the text box and so forth. And then what you want to do for the checkbox, you may want to think about what the form field options are for that. And for the text box, although I didn't show it, here are some, and you can actually limit the length. So you could say, you know, like if you're doing like some words, it's got to be a 10-letter word or less. You can change the type of text that it's going to be. So there are all kinds of things that you can do there. All right, so that's how you create a fillable form. And I'm going to go back up here. I created, if I go back a second, you'll see I gave you the starting document that I worked with. So this document here is actually available for you, and the final form is downloadable for you so you can practice and see what it might look like for a student. And so those are these documents right here. Now, it did dawn on me that I wanted to think about this as well. I want you to notice that I have this icon, which is a Google Doc icon, and this icon, which is a Word icon, all in my Google Drive. And you might be wondering, well, how did he get those in there? Because when I upload a file, it always seems to convert it over. So as an example, if I drag this sample fillable form over, and I'm gonna put a 2 on it at the end. So we're gonna see, there we go. Okay, so I have that, and I'm gonna drag this over to Drive. When I drop it over to Drive and it uploads, what you're gonna see is that form, which is coming in here, came in, and there's the one with the 2 on it. You can see it came in at 11:49, which is the time here, but it changed it over to a Google Doc. Okay, well, if I'm sharing those with students, that's not going to work because I need it to be a Word document. So how do I change that? Well, what you may not realize is that up here, there's a gear. And the gear allows you to go to settings. And if I go to settings for my drive, by default, this is almost always checked. And there are only a few reasons why I might not want it. But I'm gonna change this where it says convert upload files. I'm gonna turn that off and I'm gonna hit done. And now I'm gonna drag that same document over. But when I drop it over here, what's gonna happen is as it uploads, now it created this as a Word file. And so students, when they open it, it's gonna be a Word file and then they can download the Word file themselves. And so this is a nice way to make sure that you have a Word file. Now, I'm gonna go back up here and turn my setting back on before I forget, because I typically do want things to be converted into a Google Doc. So, so as I go back over here, I just wanted to remind you, again, in the slide deck, this is the Word file that you can see. This is the Google file, and the place to look for it is in Drive. Look for that gear and look for convert upload files to the Google Docs format. All right, so that helps us a good bit with creating PDFs, but sometimes when I give students PDFs, I also want them to mark them up. And so, so if I want to mark those files up, and I'm going to move this one back out here, I can use a couple ways to do this. And I'm going to start with one that's online and probably is the most useful for us, which is something called Kami. And I want you to look carefully right up here in my toolbar. You'll see I have a little K, and that stands for Kami. That's an extension. And I'm going to click it in a moment and I'll show you what happens. But in the slide deck, here is the link that will take you to the Chrome store where you can get Kami. And it's an extension. I want to point out more than 4 stars of rating, almost 8,500 ratings. They have about 3 million users. This is a really good tool to use. And it has it's a freemium version. So that means you can do some things for free and some things you'll have to pay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this for a moment. And if I click on that, Kami comes up and it will ask you, where do you want to get that Google Doc from? Well, I'm going to open the one from my Drive folder, and it's going to ask me a series of questions as you go through and say, do you give it permission? Well, I'm going to try to find, if I can quickly, those files that we were just using. And as I jump through all of those locations to get to my place, I'm going to open up this sample PDF. So you can see I have a PDF here, and I'm going to open that up. So this is a PDF. Now, here's what Kami lets me do, is it lets me draw. So I can go out here and draw on my PDF. I can bring out shapes. So I can be like, oh, I need a triangle. It allows me to type into my document. It allows you to comment. And commenting is kind of interesting, especially if students give you something. You can see it gives that little thing. This is a comment. I said this little thing here. It gives you a nice little dot, and you can change the color or whatever, and you can be like, okay, I have a comment on this part of the document. And so, and then I can mark it up with a bunch of other tools. You'll notice some things are locked. So the dictionary, text-to-speech, image, those are the part of the upgrade pieces that would cost you money. So, but you can see I'm using the free version, and so this allows me to mark up a PDF. So for me, that's a great way to be able to work with PDFs. And for students, if you give them PDFs, you can have them circle things and mark them up and do those types of things. And I put a little video in here as well for you so that you can take a look at how to use Kami. Now, I will point out that if I go back over here and I open up a sample PDF, so if I open up a PDF, one of the choices that will come when you do this is to annotate with Kami. So remember when I said you could go down to Google Docs and you could open it up and you could pull the text, but if I just want to annotate it, I don't have to go searching. If I already have the document open, I can just click on it that way and it'll bring me up to the same screen. And what you'll see is that you can save and download and do all kinds of things here as well. And I'll give you this will be the opportunity for you guys to sort of explore a little bit about Kami. Now, I wanted to do one more thing, which is to talk to you a little bit, especially if you're using a Mac. You can do very similar things to what I'm talking about on a PC using Edge. So if you have upgraded to Windows 10, you can use Microsoft Edge to mark up your PDFs. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to a PDF document here, pull that to the middle, and I just want to point out that I am in preview now. So you can see that's the application that I'm using. And when you open up preview, it has some tools at the top. And what I want to do is I want to click on this button right here, which says show markup toolbar. So when I do that, and you can see over in my presentation, there's that same symbol. When I click on that, it gives me a series of tools. And so one of the tools is that I can do a text box. And so if I type into the text box, I can pull that text box anywhere I might need to within the document. I can also add shapes, arrows, right? I can be like, okay, let me do a shape here. There's my shape, right? So I can do all kinds of things here. But the other thing that's really nice for me, and this is how we get a lot of our work done when we're working remotely, is I can sign things. Now, one way I could sign something is I could try and use this and like, okay, there's my, my signature, right? But Preview does something where it allows you to create a signature. Now, I've already created my signature, and so there it is. And in any document, all I have to do is go to that, add my signature, and hit save. So if you have forms that your administrators are asking you to sign, or you have other forms for schools that you need to sign, this is how you do it. The only thing I need to do is make sure I hit save when I'm done. And so you can see it says edited. This particular document, I'll just save it, and then that edited goes away. And so if I wanted to get rid of this, again, the edited comes back, I go to save, and that's how I know that now that document, if I send this on, it's gonna have my signature and my markings in it. So I gave you a sample document that you can mark up. So if you have a PDF and you wanna play around with it, you can do that. And again, if you're using a PC, use Edge in order to do the same type of thing, and look for the toolbar where you can add in your markups. The one thing I would say about the signature is that I had to sign a piece of paper and hold it up to my webcam like this in order to get my signature into the computer. So that's the one extra piece that I didn't show you. So with that, we're really just about out of time, but you're welcome to either populate questions into the Q&A pod or to put them into the chat. And as I finish up, I just want to remind you to go to the LearnOn site. And if I go to the LearnOn site, here is our set of webinars. For those of you that are science teachers, the PA Lab Exchange is a great webinar coming up in just about 2 minutes. Then we have the Day of Discovery, which is like 5 hours of stuff from our partners. And I wanted to point out that we also have another LIU 12 LearnOn webinar, which will be on Edpuzzle, which is a tool to be able to take videos and create stop points for students and questions, informative assessments. They use that. And Nicole will be bringing that to you this afternoon at 1. And you can tell the difference between our webinars, because they have LearnOn at the front, LIU 12 LearnOn, and the others that are in there. And then I'll be back tomorrow to do Nearpod. And so we'll walk through some of the ways that we can use Nearpod to create resources for our students. So with that, I'm gonna pop in the into the chat. I'm gonna pop in the web evaluation. We really appreciate if you guys take the time to put in some evaluations. And for those of you, although I see a lot of you that are repeat customers here, if you're looking for the Act 48, I would just remind you to make sure that you fill that in. So with that, that's all I have here for you guys today. I'll leave it open just for another moment to see if there are any questions that you guys might have or things that you'd like me to go back over. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to end the webinar. I thank you guys and hopefully look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.